Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation. One, two. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
My pleasure, for sure.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's awesome to be able to talk to you and be able to talk about everything that you got going on right now. And most specifically, I mean, of course, you got a lot of stuff that's been going on this year. I mean, it's an incredible year for you, but also in recent times, within the last week, being able to release the brand new album from Terminus. I mean, I've gotten the chance to be able to check this out this week, and I love what you're doing with this album. And just like I told you online, like you've quickly become one of my favorite keyboardist of all time, just from your style, your structure, the way that you play, the synths that you use, everything that's going in there. I mean, I love everything that's going on in this band.
Hey, thanks so much, man. That's really flattering to hear, and I'm really, really stoked you like the album because, you know, it's very personal to me, of course, and a lot of time and, unfortunately, a lot of money went into making it happen, so I'm super, super stoked that you like it, man. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So, with that said, how did this whole band come to be?
It's kind of a funny story and probably unique as far as prog rock, prog metal bands go, because we got together in 2016 to play, of all things, cocktail jazz. And we were going to play cocktail jazz at some restaurants and make some fast cash. And that was the height of our ambitions. That was it. But once I have an ensemble of really gifted musicians at my disposal, I'm going to write for them. And I quickly discovered that what I was writing was not cocktail jazz appropriate. Although there are a couple songs on the album that do kind of harken back to that heritage, which I think is pretty cool. But really, as I was writing, you know, we were writing with keyboards, bass, and drums because, as weird as that is for a prog band, that's quite typical for a jazz trio. Think of Bill Evans or Hiromi's trio or anything like that. So we had this ensemble set in stone, and I was writing this music that was at times very heavy, but every time I was writing, a different influence would creep in. You know, on one track I'd want to get really ambient. On another track I'd want to pull in something from Square Pusher or Pendulum, this electronic vibe. And then I had one song that I wanted to be sprawling and orchestral. And in the past, when I've written albums, I've kind of curtailed these impulses because most prog metal bands are not interested in a Square Pusher break or things like that. But I figured, you know, for the first time, really, for me as a musician, I'll have the courage to be myself as a musician and do whatever I want to do. You know, do my best to make it cohesive so it doesn't sound scramble-brained for the listeners, but to bring in whatever influences I want to do. We're an instrumental band, but we wanted guitar solo. Okay, we'll do that. We're an instrumental band, but we want a vocal song to close out the record. Sure, why not? To kind of open myself up to these different possibilities. And then the album itself was written in probably 2 months and recorded in 2 years. If that tells you anything about my scheduling and how ludicrously busy I am. I was finishing up my undergrad degree at the time when we were writing all this music, and our drummer was in law school in North Carolina, so it took us a solid year to even throw down the drum tracks or anything. But, you know, it's finally happened. It's all come to a head this summer, and I could not be more stoked with how people are reacting to this album. It's super gratifying.
I'm glad to hear that, too. You know, it's just like, whether it was crowdsourcing to be able to help with this album, the fact that, you know, just from the trials and tribulations of being in a band and being a musician in general, especially in 2018, you know, things being able to get sidetracked or not getting things done or other life priorities coming up, you know, the fact that you were able to keep this going the way that you have and seeing all the promotion that I have for this, I mean, getting the amazing guests that you've got on this album, which I'm sure we'll get into as well, and, you know, just knowing all of this style that you have going on there, being able to incorporate all these different genres and have it be so cohesive is what I really appreciate about this style of music, because there's so many bands out there that can play so proficiently, so technical and stuff like that, but it's just literally them showing off what they're capable of on the instrument rather than writing music. You're able to do both, and that's what I love in this style.
Hey, I appreciate hearing that, man, and that's actually something that I tried to do when I was writing this album, and some listeners are going to debate about whether I've actually succeeded in doing that, but I wanted to be able to write music that was very technical, interesting instrumentally, but express something. And there's a very, deep emotional core that runs through the entire record, because it is, as much as an instrumental album can be one, it is a concept album. So I really wanted to be able to express something with a lot of notes, or little notes, or as many notes as I wanted. And I find that a lot of instrumental bands, whom I love for what they are, but a lot of instrumental bands become about, cool riffs and technical riffs, and then 6 solos a song. And I was proud, for instance, about the fact that our lead single, Electro Communion, doesn't really have a solo. We were able to write a very proggy 5-minute track that has a recurring melody and has some shreddy bits, but not really a traditional solo break. So that was kind of what we were trying to do when we wrote the album, and it's amazing to hear that people think we've succeeded, because, when it's your first album and you're putting something into the world, you never really know if people are going to hear it the same way you do in your head, but it's turned out really cool.
Exactly, and when it comes time to write the next album as well, I mean, as grandiose as this album is, it's just like, it won't be like a major change for a lot of people, because you've already tapped into so many different sources throughout this album that they'll be able to dive right in, because, whether it's going to be more ambient, more heavy, more progressive, more technical, whatever the case is, I mean, you've been able to show so much with cohesiveness throughout this album. It just gets me very excited to see what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it's very true, because when you set the template as an artist of, this is who I am, I'm comfortable, and it is part of me to bring in all these different styles and make them work, then your listeners expect that. Whereas if you set yourself up to be, I'm going to play, classic style neo-prog, and then on the next album you bring in a rap break, people are going to think you're crazy. But I always compare it to Devin Townsend, as he's my favorite example of an artist who's done that, because his brand is doing whatever he wants. And honestly, I think most of his fans will be more disappointed if he just does the same album 6 times. So that's something that I aspire to as an artist, and I think with Lux Terminus, I've kind of achieved a similar precedent, and it's going to be exciting as well as a little daunting to see where it goes from here.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up that Devin Townsend influence, especially with being able to have that creative freedom as well, because once I discovered Devin Townsend myself, I always had to try to have that mindset, whether it's in my own playing or what I listen to or what I hope bands and artists will be able to do in the future, is writing the music that they want to make rather than writing the music they feel like they have to make.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, for instance, I'm very close to the music he's done with the Devin Townsend project. It's really the first thing that captivated my attention, both of his and for Annika. So that was, of course, ended up being huge for my own career. But when he put aside the project and he's announced, I'm going to do, what I want to do, I was really excited to hear that, because that's the Devin I know. That's the reason why Devin is my favorite individual artist in music, is because he can build up a successful brand for 8 years, 9 years, however long it's been. And then he can say, if I make another album like this, it's not going to be true to me, and I don't want to do that. And he has the courage to do that, which is really remarkable. And I've been lucky enough to hear some of the new music, and I'm not allowed to say how, because he'd kill me. But it's really, really good, and it's really, really fresh. And if there are people who think, wow, Devin has done so many different things in his career, how is he going to still be fresh? He managed. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, that's got me very excited as well. But, going back a little bit into what we were just talking about with Annika, the fact you were able to get that inspiration from Devin from Annika, I mean, the fact that you were able to get her to be on this album to help close out the album, I mean, that's so cool to see that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really, really, important for me personally is underselling it dramatically, because she is my favorite singer. I have 3 favorites that I can say pretty reliably. I can say reliably that Devin is my favorite artist. I can say Anathema is my favorite band, and I can say Annika is my favorite singer. I don't have any qualms about any of those 3 picks. So she's been huge to me for years. Her stuff with Devin, but everything she's done, her acoustic music, her solo albums, The Gathering, doesn't matter. If she does it, it's amazing. So I've been a fanboy for many years, and I finally got the courage to shoot her management an email, thinking, if at worst she'll say, nah, no thanks, and I'll go on with my life, you know? What do you have to lose? That's one big thing I've learned in the past few years, is that it never hurts to ask. So I asked, and she was interested in doing it, and this was right around when she was recording the Fear album, so I was thinking, oh no, she might not actually have the time to do this, or if she does, she'll just, you know, sit down for half an hour, and she'll do some non-committal, she'll just sing my guidelines as I recorded them, and, you know, it'll be nice. But that's not at all what she did. She took my guidelines, she took my lyrics and melodies, and she embellished. Basically every phrase she sings is embellished in some way. There's some little detail, there's a phrasing, there's an extra run. She really made the song her own, and that's what I've loved about her for years, is that whatever she sings, she makes her own. If she's singing Wish You Were Here, you know, if she's singing Drowning Man by U2, if she's singing Dolly Parton, it doesn't matter. Whatever comes out of her mouth is her artistry. And, you know, in the back of my head, I was thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool if she did that for Fly as well? And that's totally what happened. So it gives me goosebumps every time when I hear it. And I think that's a testament to just how she was able to reinvent that song and make it her own.
Oh, very much so. And I feel exactly the same way as you do about Annika's voice. And, you know, it's amazing, you know, just like with your top three musicians and bands going on like that with like Devin Townsend, Anathema, and Annika, how Annika was able to be a part of both of their legacies as well, having that kind of trifecta with the top three like that. And now you can say that she has been a part of your debut album with Lux Terminus and being able to close out the album in the absolute most perfect way.
Yeah, no, it's really, you know, it's pretty monumental to me, you know, just personally speaking, because in a way, this album represents emotionally a big part of it is, you know, coming to terms with, in many ways, first of all, in case there's people who don't know about kind of the story behind this album, it's inspired largely by my relationship with my girlfriend, who I've been with now for 7 years and change. But 6 of those years were long distance with no reprieve. So basically, we spent 6 years seeing each other for maybe 20 days a year. And that takes a certain emotional toll. It gives you a certain kind of soaring highs and brutal lows sensation. And just, you know, it'll have an impact on your mental health in general. So a lot of this album represents to me, you know, I was in a dark place, and it represents clawing myself out of that dark place and finding the resolve to carry on. Annika's voice was so important for me, finding the resolve to carry on. I listened to her album Drive as like a self-help book, listened to it over and over and over again. So it was kind of poetic for me that the song that signals, you know, life is tough, but I'm going to be okay. Having her sing it was like, you know, poetically apt, if you know what I mean.
Oh, very much so. And, you know, again, it's so remarkable about the human condition and what lives can do when you are able to find that drive to be able to continue on, no matter what anyone is going through. I mean, you know, just like knowing the emotional and depth that goes into this album and being able to find that positivity at the end of it, showing off through the end of this album with Annika's voice and the lyrics and, you know, just that inspiration that goes into it. You know, as someone, I'm sure you've seen it online, as someone who suffers through a lot of stuff myself mentally, you know, it's just so great that you were able, I'm able to see that you're able to get through those dark times and be able to like continue on, appreciate life, and, you know, just embrace everything that comes your way.
Yeah, and you know, it's not about me. What I've always said, I said this probably years ago to myself, and I'm consistent with this personally, is that, you know, I know what Annika has done for me personally, and I just want to be able to do that for someone else. And I was thinking, you know, I spent so much on this Lux Terminus album, I spent so much on, you know, all the promotion and everything. Maybe it's not going to be worth it. And then we put out Fly, and I think the day of, someone messaged our band page and said, I just wanted to let you know I listened to the song Fly, and, you know, I've been struggling with mental health, and I heard her sing the lyrics, I will choose life, and I broke down crying. Thank you for this song. And I was like, that is like, literally, I could have spent 15 times more on this album, and that interaction alone would have made it worth it. That was so, like, profoundly moving for me as an artist, and hopefully I can continue to keep inspiring people to do that, because that's what I want to do. That's what the Lux Terminus album is for me. I want to put some light into the world. I want people to, you know, I just want them to listen and have a smile on their face and, you know, maybe escape what life can be, but also give them the strength to, keep fighting through what life has to offer. So it's been really cool that has been inspiring some people to do that. And I know with the mental health conversations we've been hearing lately with the singer of Huntress taking her own life tragically and, stuff like that, it's been really on everybody's mind. So I've been trying to think about how we can, give back and keep making, spreading the joy and the positivity in the world, because I don't think there's enough of that in the world. So, something to keep aspiring for as an artist. I would much rather put out light and joy into the world than put out more misery that people already see in their lives. You know what I mean?
Oh, I couldn't agree more with that. And no matter how you look at this album, I mean, especially from my point of view, whether I'm looking for a group of musicians with this amazing talents and songwriting skills that are going on to this album, the overall message of the album, the lyrics from Fly, hearing Annika's voice, being able to sing over that, just the different range of genres and styles that are going on throughout the album. There's always something that I can look back to on this album. The more that I listen to it, the more that I can pinpoint something, and it does bring a smile to my face knowing that there are musicians out there that want to write in this style, that want to make sure that there is that positivity that's going in there, either musically or lyrically, thematically, whatever the case is. And just being able to do that in 2018, just like you said, I don't think there's enough positivity going on in the world right now, and especially in our line of work, there's a lot of sadness that's going on right now, like you mentioned with Huntress, and other unfortunate deaths that have happened in the last few years with people taking their own lives. So when we are able to find that positivity that's going on in music, be it Lux Terminus or other artists and musicians trying to bring some positivity to music, that is such a great thing to see.
Well, thank you so much, man. I'm really happy that the album is resonating for you in that way. That's really the highest compliment we could ever hope for as writers, because it's what we want to do. And I have nothing against, negative Nancy music. I'm totally fine with it. I love Judgment by Anathema, and that's as Debbie Downer as it gets.
Oh, yes.
There's a place for negative music, and I think that can also provide a sense of catharsis. And I play in a band that touches on plenty of those themes, redemption. So I can't slag on that stuff too much. It is, it's powerful stuff, and it makes for good art, and it's relatable. But for me personally, what I, as a musician and a person, want to say, I want to take a slightly more optimistic turn on things, because I know as a person, I know what is going to help me through my dark times. And for me, I clung to dark music quite a bit throughout my formative years, and it's important to me. I don't regret that, but ultimately it wasn't, super sad doom metal that helped me beat my clinical depression. It was the sunny cheeriness of Drive by Annika. So, just giving a little bit more of that light out, and hopefully someone can cling to it and it'll make their day a little better. That's all I can hope for.
Oh yeah, and I'm very much that same way too. Like I love the dark music for that cathartic reason, and it was Stephen Wilson who said it best. Just like with the more depressing music, it's very relatable, because that's what a lot of people go through, rather than just feeling happy 100% of the time. Sometimes you need that dark stuff to be able to get through those dark moments that you got going on. So there's a lot of those dark bands, and Judgment from Anathema, like you said, I mean that is a great example of an amazing dark album. But it's good to have that yin and yang of musical listening to, and that's actually a good segue here, because you are able to do that. I mean, you got that yin and yang going on now with Lux Terminus, and of course Redemption, who also just released a brand new album just a couple months back through Metal Blade, and now you guys are actually going to be able to perform with Tom England, one of my favorite vocalists and a leader of dark music, playing at Prog Power next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a trip in so many ways for me, because first of all, I've been a fan of Redemption for many years, and second of all, I've been a fan of Prog Power for many years, and third of all, Tom has been a hero of mine since I was in high school. So it's like all of these three forces coming to head in one. I guess it's technically two, because we're doing a morning show, but two, crazy performances that I've been rehearsing my ass off for. But it's going to be so much fun, man, for sure.
Absolutely, and I've been a longtime fan of Redemption. I didn't mention this in my interview with Nick, but I did mention it to him after. I was one of the people that actually named Frozen in the Moment, the first live DVD from Redemption. I'm very proud to be able to say that I have a little bit of legacy with Redemption when it comes to that. And of course,
Oh, no
now.
kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
There was a contest that was going on, and I submitted that name. A couple other people had similar names, and we all got like a live autographed copy of the live DVD and CD and stuff. And I got that sitting right up on my bookshelf. Very proud of that moment. And it was great to be able to keep up with Redemption over that time, over all the trials and tribulations that's happened with Nick personally throughout the band and stuff. And now getting Tom England.
For sure.
Yeah, now getting Tom England, where I also discovered Evergrey in high school. I discovered Recreation Day, and that completely changed my mind on what dark music could be. It just didn't need to be like screams and growls of like black metal and stuff like that. It could be like this really emotional voice that's going on with all these dark moments that I never discovered that before. But now hearing that with Redemption, and like hearing the melodies that are harmonies that are going on with Redemption, and hearing Tom sing over like positive, happy notes throughout the album, it kind of confuses me, but I love the idea of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Tom is interested in doing. I think that's one thing that drew him towards Redemption, and the many other things that Tom is working on at the moment is that, Tom loves dark music. Tom loves expressing dark things, but, we all need to do something a little bit different, especially when we spend 20 years making extremely bleak music. So I think Tom probably, I might be speaking for him, but he probably gets a kick out of singing over that part in Indulgent Color where it goes to like sunny A flat major. He probably, that probably feels good for him. And it feels good for me as a listener to hear this voice that I've heard, struggle through bleak minor chords and reverb piano for so many years. Hearing that voice explode over orchestra and major key is, for me, as a fan of Tom, it kind of feels like I'm hearing his voice triumph, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. And, again, just from a listener and knowing about Redemption, knowing about Evergrey, like hearing that specific moment, it's just like my jaw dropped when I heard that. It's like, wow, I never would have thought Tom would sing over something like this in original music unless it was like a cover or something. But the fact that, it's just like, it's really showing that someone can be diverse and show off all these different sides of what they want to do, no matter what they're specifically known for. It can be such a great thing to see. And that's what I love seeing about the evolution of these musicians that I really care about. And, again, going back into what you're doing now, I mean, the fact that you are able to have, like I mentioned before, this yin and yang between Lux Terminus and Redemption, being able to show the dark and the light at the same time. I mean, that's so great that you get to be in a position like that.
Yeah, and, it reflects, I think, probably the way that all of us are as people, because, that's what life is. Life is dark and light. And, I think there's certainly power to expressing one side of the spectrum, but if you're in the position where you want to express more sides of the human condition, and that's going to be satisfying for a lot of artists, especially those who haven't done it for many years. So I know that Tom has really been trying to branch out in recent years, and he's been doing a lot of stuff, whether it's not just Redemption, but where he's writing pop music with Jonas and all that stuff, where he's interested in doing different things. With vocally too, he's interested in using his voice in ways that he hasn't in past years, and it's great fun for me as a fan to watch him branch out and explore different territory.
And speaking of that as well, I mean, now being able to say that you're a part of this amazing band like Redemption, what is it like for you now, like learning the past catalog and being able to play that stuff live coming up?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Redemption is very difficult music, as I think anyone could tell you, but it hasn't been as much of a mental slog as I think you might expect, because there's so much music going on, but I've been listening to this music, so it's not so much that I have to, remember, oh shoot, there's a bridge here that wasn't here the first time, because I kind of know that. I've been listening to this music for years. It's in there. So for me, mainly what it's been is, I have the master files from recording, and there's some things in the mix, especially the earlier records, where you can't hear little keyboard details, and kind of going back and discovering that, which is actually, really cool as a fan, to be like, oh, there was that little part in the suffocating silence that I never heard, or, something like that. It's quite cool to be able to discover the old music, and I've been doing that for the whole catalog, not just what we've been rehearsing for the set, because it's really fun to have that inside perspective. And then it's really just been about endurance, because it's a long set and it's a tough set. So, just playing the set from front to back over and over again, getting myself running in the morning, which I haven't done in a while. But, just building up the physical endurance to do this set and to do it twice in 2 days is going to be a heck of a thing. But it'll be fun. I mean, it's a challenge, and if you're not challenging yourself, you don't grow.
Absolutely. And that's so great to see that you are going through all of that to prepare yourself for not just these upcoming shows, but, just learning about a band that you cared so much about and now get to say that you're a part of. I mean, the fact that you're going back and discovering these things that you might have noticed when you were listening to it when you first discovered it, but now, like, when you're really divulging into the music and you hear all these parts that are going on that you may not have noticed as much before, and, of course, being able to add your own spin into it now. I mean, that's just so cool to see that you're able to continuously push yourself when it comes into either your original music, now what you're doing with Redemption, and, just all these upcoming live shows, and of course, your physical health, too. I mean, being able to go out and run and stuff, it's just like, it's great to see that you're constantly pushing yourself like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more out of, I'd like to say that, there's a part, like, I know it's the right thing to do, of course I do, but it's also necessity, it's like, I know that, I'm not like a slob, I'm in decent shape, I lost a lot of weight as I was making the Lux Terminus album, coincidentally, but, it's the point of, like, it's physically taxing to play shows. I play on the side, one of the many other things I do musically is I play in a pop band, and we play basically weekly, we just play events, make people feel good, but I'm in pain after those shows, and it's like, because, we do play long sets, we'll play 3 hours a night, but it's like, I'm just thinking, oh man, and then I have to go so much harder at center stage and rock out with Redemption, and then do it the next night too. For Blu-ray, like, I gotta be in top form for that, so I know that if I don't do this, I'm gonna suffer, so pick your poison.
Absolutely. So, thinking about that as well, I mean, obviously, being able to play in a pop band is much different than playing, like, the instrumental music of Lux Terminus or the dark progressive metal of Redemption. What is that like for you to be able to expand your horizons even more like that, being able to go into a completely different genre like that?
It's so much fun, and I recommend every musician do it, really. Because, first of all, when you're playing pop music, you realize that it's maybe not as simple as you thought when you put on the radio with your kids in the car or something. Like, there's a lot more going on to it than you might think. And, again, talking about the messages you spread to people, when you're playing a song like Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake, which is one of my favorite pop songs, it moves the crowd in a way that Opeth is just never going to do, I love Opeth, but it won't get your booty shaken. That's fine. I don't expect Opeth to get my booty shaken. If it ever did, I'd feel weird about it. But it's really, really fulfilling as a musician to be able to, I play guitar in that band, so to be able to play like a syncopated guitar line and, you watch people start grooving to it, it's exhilarating, honestly. And it makes you appreciate what performance is all about, because I think as prog musicians, we get really caught up in the display of what we're doing with our fingers and our brains, and that's great. I love, the exploratory nature of prog music and being able to push yourself. That's important to me. But when I play pop gigs, nobody cares about how fast I'm moving my fingers. They'll probably care if I'm moving them too fast. It's all about how I make them feel. And you realize that that's what performance ultimately is about. You're out there to make the audience feel something. And I try to bring that vibe into my live performance even when I'm playing prog. I don't want to just stand there like a statue or a mannequin. I want to be engaging. I want people to, if I'm banging my head or something or grooving, people feed off of that. They see you grooving, they see your energy, and they give it back to you. And that's beautiful. So it's really actually been pretty important to my performing to be able to play these pop shows and to be able to do different things, because I play, cocktail music from time to time as well. And, just knowing the different ways that what you can play can impact people's emotions, because you really, as a musician, you have a daunting responsibility to make the audience feel something. And the more you play, the more you learn how to connect with people musically and physically and emotionally and visually and all these different things. So great experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, it's just, it's so great to see that as well too. I mean, not just different genres, not just different styles, not just different emotions, but also playing different instruments as well too. I mean, I gotta imagine that's gotta really help with the creative mind when you're able to play guitar in one band, play keyboards in another, and just get those creative juices flowing for when you're coming up with different ideas.
Yeah, it's really helpful, and it helped on the Lux Terminus album actually, because I don't know if you know the different parts of different tracks yet, but the opening of Aberration is this kind of off-kilter halftime groove. I wrote that on drums, playing that on drums. I never would have come up with that on piano. That's not a pianistic thing to do, but it's a very drummer thing to do, with the higher note being the snare and the lower notes being the kick drums. So I wrote it there, and then there's a breakdown later in the song that I solo over, and I wrote that on guitar, like a heavy distorted guitar thing, and then you play it on keyboards, and it becomes a completely different animal. But I love writing on other instruments because when you take that back to the piano, it's like you're seeing the 88 keys in a totally different way. Like you see the low octaves and you start seeing kick drums, and it's really cool. It gives this, maybe you didn't think of the piano that way before. So even if it's not feasible for a pianist to become proficient in drums or guitar, I always recommend, pick up a guitar, or at the very least, go to YouTube, type in, Gavin Harrison, modern drummer 2008. Watch a great drummer play. I watch drummers all the time. I don't watch keyboard players really. I don't go to YouTube and think I'm gonna go watch a great keyboard player. I spend all my time watching drummers. I've killed so many hours watching Drumio's hour-long or more, their tutorials that they put on YouTube. I watch those all the time because I learn so much. You learn about rhythm, you learn about pocket, feel. Drummers have a way of thinking about rhythm that might not be obvious if you come from, I don't know, maybe you were learning Beethoven sonatas on piano when you were a kid. The way drummers think about rhythm and grooves and pocket is going to be totally different. So I think it's really important to at least try to engage in the way other musicians play. If you can't actually step inside their shoes and play that instrument, which is, not everybody can do that, which is okay.
Oh yeah, and it's just, it really does help with the creativity as well. I mean, even like you said, even if you can't pick up these other instruments and be able to play them, just like watching others play it, listening to others play it, discovering other forms of music, discovering styles that you may not be familiar with, just like anything to get those creative juices going, because you never know what inspiration's going to hit you, and you never know where life's going to take you when it comes to that. Yeah. So, just having as many options as possible, I mean, it can only be beneficial.
For sure. And it helps you so much as a bandmate, too. Like, I always remember, it was Gavin Harrison, I don't know where he said this, but he said something along the lines of, he changed the way he played his drums completely when he picked up a bass. And he started to understand what a bass player wants from a drummer. And it totally changed the way he played because, when he's thinking about the collective and not just, how many paradiddles can I do? Which, obviously Gavin Harrison, I don't think he was ever thinking about how many paradiddles can I fit in a measure. But, when he's picked up a bass and found like, okay, the bass player, they want this sense of pocket, they want space for their notes. Sometimes you want to accent them with the kicks. They like ghost notes to kind of dance around the accents they're playing. It totally changed the way he played drums or the way he thought about playing drums. And I think that applies for every instrument. Try to understand what your bandmates are doing, and it's going to make you 50 times better as a player.
Absolutely. And, just to bring this all back around, I mean, I'm glad to see that you were able to learn that and be able to expand your horizons so much. I mean, no matter what style of music you're playing, no matter what musicians you're playing with, no matter what style you're writing, I mean, it really shows, like, no matter what life has thrown at you, no matter what styles of music are out there, I mean, you constantly want to evolve yourself as a musician and as a human being, and it's so very inspiring to see that.
That's awesome to hear, man. And honestly, like, a big part of it for me, I think if I'm thinking about musically or interpersonally or emotionally or anything, I think the biggest kind of thing that I learned over the years when I'm trying to always improve is connection, connection with other people, your bandmates, the audience, your spouse, your friends. Everything I do when I think about it, I'm just trying to connect with people better. And I think if you have that as a goal and you don't get distracted by the other bullshit that life can throw at you, I think it makes everyone a much more centered person. So that's at least what I aspire to. We all have a lot of growing to do. I think the second you think that you're done growing, you're screwed forever.
And I think right there, I think that's an amazing note to end on, and very, very true words, because it's so important to be able to grow in all facets of life that you think that you're going to be able to grow in, and to try new experiences as well. And with that, thank you so very much for taking this time to be able to talk to me. And this was a fantastic time being able to talk to you about everything that you got going on, no matter the style of music, no matter what you're playing on. I mean, it was great to be able to get your insight into everything going on. The brand new album from Terminus, brand new album from Redemption, all these great things that you got going on in 2018. It's so awesome once again to see, just like no matter what life is thrown at you, you're able to persevere and continue to grow. And I can't wait to see what's going to be happening from 2019 and beyond with you.
Hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and hopefully we can do another one of these soon, because I got a lot more things cooking, and my head is in a whirlwind right now because of all the crap I put on my plate, but it gives us plenty of stuff to talk about next time. But it's been great talking to you, man, for real. It's been a wonderful time, and stoked for next time for sure.